everybody, and welcome in Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Thursday. Dustin Schutte with me, as always. Looking forward to talking to Kyle Neddenriep, Matt Taylor from the Colts to join us, Chris Denari. I cannot wait to talk to Chris Denari. Dustin, I saw a commercial last night. I happened to be someplace that had a Pacers game on, and they've got this Denari special. I think it's one of their sponsors. It was, but I was just laughing at the commercial. So I cannot wait to have some fun with him about that.
Is that the Connecticut water?
Yes, doing a little acting. I hadn't seen that before, so I cannot wait to talk to him about that. College football signing day has come, and we are in the mix of it. To be honest with you, day 2 right now, but most things happened yesterday. Not that some others aren't still coming. Indiana, of course, Omar Cooper did not sign and is elected to hold off until February until he can have a conversation with new offensive coordinator Walt Bell. Kind of surprised that didn't happen by Walt Bell prior to be honest with you. I'm thinking I'm reaching out to my top guys real fast. That's a little shocked that did not happen.
Yeah, that is an interesting aspect to this whole thing. But I mean, in this kind of climate, you can't really blame Omar Cooper because he committed to one style, one system, one offensive coordinator. And so for all that to change, I mean, he probably knew at some point when Indiana couldn't score to save their life that there was going to be some sort of change. You just didn't know who that was until last week, I think. So I don't blame him. It is kind of interesting because that's one of the first things that you want to do is you want to get out there on the recruiting trail. You want to be able to, talk with your prospects. You want to be able to be sure that you're landing those high-level recruits. What I'm not sure is, though, Jim, I wonder what the NCAA rules allow for and has he officially signed his contract? When did he officially sign his contract? When can he start recruiting? When can he talk to potential prospects? That could be a factor in all this. I don't know. That's just my only thought on that. But you can't blame the kid for wanting to make sure he's going to fit into this specific system before committing, before signing with a specific program. You still got, 2 months basically until the next signing period. So plenty of time to evaluate. And this is going to be a big test, I think, for Walt Bell to kind of to cut his teeth here with the Indiana program and prove he belongs in that position because Omar Cooper is a big-time recruit, and you need to get him. Even though Indiana's got a big class, he's a big offensive weapon that they really lacked last season. So you got to get him to Bloomington.
Yep, we got plenty of that to talk about. Adam jumping in hot and heavy. Them Pacers are garbage, and Pritchard should be fired. I know you could weigh in on that. You're a big Pacers fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've talking to Chris multiple times throughout the course of this show over the last year. I've been very optimistic about this team working together. I think they've had the pieces to get it done. I no longer think that. I don't know what roster moves need to be made. They can't do it. It's too inconsistent. They don't. When they're playing well, they are playing well together, but it looks just so dysfunctional when they're not playing well. And I feel like there might be some finger pointing behind the scenes. I don't know any of that, but it's just so clunky. It's just so disjointed. Last night, the Bucks were without Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they still lost by 15 points. They were without 2 players, and they still lost by 15 points. And basically, the Pacers are at full strength. You can't have that. I don't know about the Pritchard being fired stuff, but you've got to make some sort of roster shakeup because this is no longer working. Not that it was really ever working, but it's absolutely not working now.
This is not working. I love that. I should have a T-shirt that says that. This is not working. That's a good T-shirt, to be honest with you.
It is a good T-shirt. You could wear it to a lot of different things too.
I guarantee it. Or just one that says this with an arrow, but would always have to be pointing left, right, or up.
Up?
Yes. Well,
like I'm not working?
Or left or right then.
There you go. It's like one of those "I'm with stupid" shirts.
Exactly. College basketball kind of on not a hiatus, but a hiatus of sorts as it's finals week. I'm surprised. I was thinking, how can the hell they can get anybody to play right now with finals weeks going on? Number 19 LSU was in action. They won. Number 18 Tennessee, they win. Number 2 Duke, they win. Number 13 it's chalk. Auburn wins. Number 25 Texas Tech wins. Number 14 Houston wins. Number 17 Texas wins. Guess who the only ranked team that played? This is actually from 12-14. Is that the day before? Yeah. This is from 2 days ago, my fault. But how about Memphis just kicking the dog parts out of Alabama? Memphis has looked not good. And I had talked about them because they were like 500 maybe. And they beat them 92-78. Alabama has beaten some really good teams. They've beaten Gonzaga. I can't remember. They beat somebody else. So Alabama is number 6. Alabama, a really good team. Memphis jumps up and knocks them off.
Yeah, that was a surprising thing. And this is usually the week that even if you are playing a game during the finals week, typically you're not playing high-level competition. Usually it's one of those cupcake kind of games. It's a money game, a game that you see Texas played Arkansas Pine Bluff. You saw Auburn play North Alabama. Tennessee plays SC Upstate. So this is typically a bye game, and Memphis isn't exactly in that same category. They're usually a high-level program, but you're right. This season they haven't been playing particularly well. So for them not just to win that game, but for them to just clobber Alabama, that was incredibly interesting to see. But and how about the Crossroads Classic Final One this weekend? That's going to be exciting. A lot on the line there, and there's a lot of really good matchups this weekend. Like we go from no basketball to just a weekend, like a smorgasbord full of great matchups. So that's going to be something to look forward to this weekend.
A smorgasbord, he says. It's like Thanksgiving
I do say that.
Or something.
I'm, you know what? I don't stop eating from the night before Thanksgiving through like New Year's Eve. I don't stop eating. So it's a constant smorgasbord here. It's a bunch of leftovers. Then I have to make a bunch of other stuff. So.
How about the Badge? Wisconsin barely gets by Nickel State.
I saw that too.
I've seen.
I think they were trailing at half too. I think Nickel State had a lead at halftime of that game.
That's the only thing that gives me a little pause about the Indiana team. The 2 teams that they have lost to have some really, really bad losses.
Yeah, but it's still early. Like, who just lost to who did we talk about that lost to Texas? I'm going to lose it now. Texas Southern, who hadn't won a game. Florida. I mean, sometimes those things happen. I saw Michigan State get beat by Texas Southern, and they ended up I think they won the Big Ten that year. So sometimes that stuff happens in the early portion of the season. It is interesting in terms of how much can these teams grow, but I think that there's just so much there's so much parity in college basketball. We've talked about this before, and it's so early in the season. It's hard to take anything away from this time of year just because a team is still kind of in its infancy. We'll see what happens, but I think you see there's a lot of negatives with Indiana right now, but at the same time, I think you're starting to see some of the positives in the fact that I didn't think under Archie Miller they played hard for 40 minutes every game. They seem to be doing that under Mike Woodson. The defense has improved. They just got to knock down free throws, and they got to start shooting the ball better. Maybe that happens throughout the course of the season. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But you can have some room for pause. But we talked about all season, Jim. We can't expect this team to go from where they were to up to the top of the Big Ten in a year. It might take some time because there was no development there for a 4-year period. So they got to still kind of overcome that.
Yep. There you go. Back to that comment, Adam. Many years. Yes, sir.
I
When Sean was talking about Memphis, Penny decided not to play his 5-star freshman so much in the win. Monty Bates got some pine time. Maybe no better motivator than the bench.
Nope.
Hopefully we're not heading back into this, and I don't want to get on this. People coming back at me. COVID, it's kind of back. UCLA cancels the game last night. A few hours after announcing Mick Cronin would not be participating in the game because he was under COVID protocol. Then UCLA ends up canceling the entire game. So hopefully we're not back to that, but there we go. We're back to it a little bit.
Yeah, I hope not. I don't think we had any cancellations during the football season, at least not that I remember. So hopefully this is a rarity. We saw it, though, with the Pacers. Rick Carlisle's had to be out because of COVID protocols. We've seen other players who have had to sit the bench or not show up. So hopefully it doesn't result in too many cancellations this season. But this is the time of year when everything kind of hits, right? Because it's cold outside. Everybody's cooped up indoors. So we'll see. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully everybody stays healthy and we don't have to deal with this stuff, not just from a sports perspective, but health and safety. We don't need any more of that stuff going around.
Let's see what happened to this. I missed this. Houston coach Kelvin Sampson apologized on Sunday night after an assistant coach and a player kicked chairs and a trash can over on their way off the court following the Cougars' 83-82 loss to number 9 Alabama. Number 13 Houston lost to Crimson Tide on Saturday night after missing a three-pointer and multiple tip-ins in the final seconds. As time expired, Alabama guard J.D. Davidson blocked a ball near the rim to seal the win, something Sampson and others thought should have been called goaltending. No review was called, and Houston lost by 1. As the Cougars walked off the floor to the locker room, Houston assistant Kellen Sampson, Kelvin's son, was seen kicking and breaking one chair, then kicking a second one. Houston forward Reggie Chaney also kicked a broken chair and then knocked over a garbage can.
What's up with everybody wanting to kick stuff these past couple of days?
That's sports, baby. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, you have these players at Houston kicking chairs and knocking over trash cans. You got Urban Meyer kicking players.
Kicking players. Really? In today's age, somebody's kicking somebody? Kicking a kicker, no less. He kicked a kicker.
I'm surprised that kicker didn't wind up and kick him back, because that would have been, that would have been high entertainment.
I really am. What would have happened if that dude would have just stood up and clocked Urban Meyer? I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate going out the wrong way story. Buddy, that would have been it. Urban Meyer kicks a punter who stands up. Like, can you imagine if he kicks Pat McAfee?
Oh, God, no.
Come on. What's coming next? Boom! He's dropping him. You know that. That I've never heard of such a thing, man. I mean,
not at that level.
Back in the old days, probably, but man, not today. Not today. And it's funny how he kicked he picked on a punter. He didn't kick an outside linebacker. He didn't pick a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman or anybody for that matter. That he is really putting a big old rust stain on his legacy.
He's not left Florida gracefully. He did not leave Ohio State gracefully, and now he's not leaving the Jaguars gracefully. Like, it's just been a catastrophe. We should have known that this was going south when he hired Chris Doyle as the strength and conditioning coach after all the things that came out about what happened at Iowa. To hire that guy to be a part of an NFL organization, like, from that point, we should have known this was going to go south. We just didn't know that it would happen in a 13-game span. And I think I saw the stat, Jim. He's the first NFL head coach, if I remember correctly, to not finish out his first season since Bobby Petrino in 2007?
Bobby Petrino, another college coach who things did not end gracefully for at any place that he has been.
Right.
No place that he has been. He leaves. Who did he leave? Where did he go to the Falcons from? Was it Louisville? Was he at Louisville then? Or had he left Louisville?
Did he go from the Falcons to Arkansas? I can't remember. I think he went from the Falcons to Arkansas and then back to Louisville.
Yeah, I think he went from Louisville. He leaves to the Falcons, who he left after, 4 games or something crazy?
Yeah, I don't remember what – it was crazy. I don't remember exactly what the total number was, but it was crazy.
Yeah, it was like, what? And so then he goes to Arkansas and, of course, has the motorcycle accident where he's got the neck brace on and the black eyes, where he had his girlfriend, the volleyball player, on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
So then he's banished to, whatever, and has to come back, work his way back, ends up at Western Kentucky, and then back at Louisville. But then he inexplicably quit on that Louisville team at the end.
Yeah.
Just quit. I've never seen anything like it. Now he's down in Missouri someplace doing well.
I think Southeast Missouri State or something.
I don't think it's that school, but I think it's a school definitely in Missouri.
Maybe it's just Missouri State. I think it's an FCS school. I know that. Yeah.
So I don't know what his plans are. Is he planning on coming back again?
These guys are crazy. They think they can do anything. So.
Yep. And he's already got the money. I think he got paid $14 million to leave Louisville. I love all those money all those guys get paid to leave, man. Speaking of leaving, we got to take a break. We got plenty more coming up on the program today. Kyle Neddenriep will join us. Matt Taylor from the Colts. Chris Denari. Big day as always. We're back with plenty more right after this. Can somebody give me some coffee, please? Oh, yes, that's me.
You're not a coffee drinker, Ken?
Absolutely not. I'll drink coffee if it's the sweetest possible thing on the menu from Starbucks.
You know what? That's how I got started, though. I started drinking like McDonald's when I worked at Ivy Tech. The secretary would bring us in like on Friday. She'd bring us in these whatever it is, some sort of chocolate shake thing from McDonald's, and it had just the littlest, like the littlest hint of coffee. And then I graduated to like a caramel macchiato at Starbucks. Yeah. And then it was something else. And then now I can drink coffee black. So
I've heard that it's like you have to suffer through it for 2 weeks and then you get used to it.
That's exactly what it is. Like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Do we have a guest next segment?
9:10 is Neddenriep.
Okay. 9:10 is the first. Cool.
Yeah. Was Petrino's first year with the Falcons right when all the Michael Vick stuff broke?
It might have been.
I know he was the coach when that happened.
It would have been 2007. Let's see, how many games did he coach?
13, I think. He had a better record than Urban Meyer.
I thought it was 12. I thought he quit with 4 games left. Oh no, you're right. 3 and 10. Good call. 13.
So wait, yeah, his only year was when all the Michael Vick stuff broke.
He's like, I'm not doing this.
because Pardon My Take had on. Who did they have on yesterday? Joey Harrington from Oregon. They had him on yesterday to talk about it, and it was about him being the backup to Michael Vick and having to be thrown into that whole situation.
That's crazy. Joey Harrington.
Yeah.
He was one of the first covers of NCAA football, if I remember.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jim, you got 10 seconds.
Don't talk to me.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat on this Thursday. Dustin Schutte with me as always from Saturday Tradition. Man, you guys must be busy right now.
Oh yeah. Yesterday, on Wednesday, obviously, I was flying back from Texas and doing some early signing or early signing periods.
Boy, were your arms tired, right?
Exactly. Jim, I didn't come back with any cowboy hats, any spurs, any snakeskin boots, anything good from Texas other than a full stomach. But
anytime someone goes to Texas, they have strict orders to bring me back Whataburger.
I didn't even see one. I'm sure there were, but I did not see one.
Where were you?
Austin. In Austin, Texas. Now we had a
it's very possible you didn't see one around there. I'm sure there is one somewhere there, but it's very possible you didn't see one there because that's a real hoity-toity. That's the hoity-toity area of Texas where, so that's like the only hoity-toity. Well, you get outside of that and it's Texas, but Austin has become. I've never been there. I've heard a wonderful.
You've never been there, but you call it the hoity-toity?
I know what it's become. The capital is where the university is, but it's also a big music place as well. So, but
that's true.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
Speaking of, I have to throw this out there. Now, I didn't talk to him, but in one of the restaurants we were at, I saw Jeff Foster. That's a blast from the past. Do you remember that name?
I do not.
Okay, he played for the Pacers.
Where did he go to school?
Mid-2000s.
Where did he go to school?
I believe Texas State. Don't quote me on that, but he went to some smaller school, and he played like a 10 or 11-year career with the Pacers. He was only with the Pacers. He was a rebounding machine, like 6'10". He has such a distinct
sounds
look.
Like myself.
He has such a distinct
sounds
look.
Like myself.
Very polished. 6'10", 6'11".
I didn't say polished. I just said distinct.
Well, that's true.
Always a difference there. The college football signing period continues now. Most of the big ones have completed. Anything that you're expecting big ones to fall yet? The quarterback, Indiana, Tom Allen said yesterday, they have to go out and find a high school quarterback and a quarterback in the portal. I think that tells me they know they don't have. Well, they're never going to admit it, but Jack Tuttle is not the guy that I want to think that is the starter going into next season. And with the quarterbacks that are out there and available, I think that you can go out and you can get one. Now, it would have probably helped had Omar Cooper signed, but they did bring in a few receivers. But, man, if they can pull in a quarterback off the portal to kind of patch them over, because I don't know who the quarterback of the future is. I don't know that it's Donovan McCulley. I don't know that. Nobody knows that. People can think that, but is he gonna be able to grasp the college throwing game? I don't know. I'm not saying he can or cannot, but I don't know it. He hasn't shown it yet. He hasn't shown that he can yet. So
Well,
you need somebody that you know can.
I don't know who's in the portal that you would feel comfortable with. I mean, I guess if you went for the fences, I don't.
Bo Nix.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I don't know that he's that much different. The thing to me about Donovan McCulley is I want to see him in a non-Nick Sheridan type of offense because nobody was performing well with him running the show. So I agree with you that there's not a lot. I don't think that you have to go into the portal. And look, the thing that I'm just going to say, I was underwhelmed by the Walt Bell hiring. Maybe it works, but
I think everyone was, and I don't mean that in a negative way. That's just a fact. I think everyone was.
Right. And the thing that I think can give you some optimism is when you look back at what he did at Maryland, they had some athletes, and he was able to get them into situations where they utilized their explosiveness. Now, it didn't happen against teams usually like Ohio State, Michigan, or Michigan State, but it would happen against some of those lower tier teams, and that's at least a good starting point. Indiana has some really good athletes, especially at quarterback, with McCulley being an athlete. I think there is potential that the offense looks a lot better. I just don't think it's a guarantee. It's going to be very interesting to me to see. Yeah, if you can get Bo Nix, you might as well bring him in because he at least gives you that experience. He's got some mobility. He could win you 6 or 7 games. He could also lose you 6 or 7 games. So you're taking a little bit of a risk there. I think he would actually fit into what Tom Allen wants to do. I think he has that same sort of mindset. But it is going to be – I just don't think you have to get a quarterback. I think that there's enough with McCulley in there. I just want to see him in without Nick Sheridan running the offense.
Another question, and before I forget, I do want to point this one out. How about Deion Sanders?
That's crazy.
The number one recruit in all of college football.
That's insane. And
to an HBCU.
And NIL has completely changed this whole recruiting structure. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
But the thing is, I don't think a Jackson State can do enough to become great. Yeah, you can get one guy. You may be able to get 2 or 3 guys. It takes a lot more than that to really – you can beat the level of competition they're playing, but getting 3 guys or 4 guys, it's not going to beat Ohio State. It ain't going to beat Alabama.
Yeah, but they don't need to. Yeah, but they don't need to.
No, in their own league. Now they'll kick butt in their own league, yes.
Right.
Without question.
But, I mean, what I'm still curious about, everybody's losing their lids over all this stuff. I still don't think that you're going to see this that often down the road because I just don't think it's a sustainable or a strong business model. I could be wrong. I don't know. It's a crazy story. NIL has a big part of it. Deion Sanders being the head coach is a big part of it. There's a lot of different factors involved here, but there's going to be some people that lose it over that decision. I'm just saying wait and see because I just don't think it's going to be quite as much the wild, wild west in 3 or 4 years because things are going to get settled down. There's going to be – the other thing is again, I've talked about this before. This isn't stuff that hasn't happened before. Just these other schools, they didn't have the same resources. Now that everybody has the same resources, it changes the game entirely. Like Indiana doesn't have the same football resources as Alabama. They don't have the same sort of donorship money. They don't have those. So – it's going to be incredibly interesting, but just ease into it. I think some of these big-time recruits, recruiting is going to change. But in terms of what we look at from a class standpoint from top to bottom, I don't think that's going to change too much.
I was a little surprised to see Spencer Rattler going to South Carolina.
Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know. Shane Beamer. Belief. I don't know. I didn't see much of the story. I've been in and out so much these past few days. I don't know if there was a previous relationship there or not. That's going to be interesting.
Who in the Big Ten has done the most damage, or on a positive side? Who has succeeded the most in the Big Ten?
In terms of recruiting?
With the portal, just out of the portal.
Out of the portal? Well, Purdue's done a really good job. I think they added a running back out of Cal, Christopher Brooks. They added Tyrone Tracy, Indianapolis native, who was at Iowa for a couple seasons. He was thought to be one of their top targets, and he's transferring. They got a defensive back out of Kansas State. Then you look at Michigan State again. Mel Tucker doing some good things. He gets Jalen Berger out of Wisconsin. He got a linebacker out of UNLV who racked up 119 tackles last season. So those two programs, off the top of my head, I think are doing really well. There's probably some others there that I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but I mean, it completely changes the game. Indiana's done some good things through the transfer portal.
The defensive line. How about the defensive line for Indiana?
Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing. If you can't get some of these guys through recruiting from high school, you can go in and address an immediate need through the transfer portal. Like, I know it's free agency and some people hate it, but at the same time, I do think it's beneficial to the coaches because you're able to add depth. You're able to add this. That's what Indiana needs. They need experience. They need depth. They need talent on the offensive line and really both lines, because neither was great last season. But I mean, Indiana's done well on the recruiting trail, and then I think Tom Allen has also done a really good job of doing some of this. This is a guy we can plug and play. This is a guy we can plug and play. And I think you're going to continue to see that sort of mindset. Build your foundation around recruiting, and then if you can get a quarterback, if you can get a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman who can just come in right away and make an immediate impact, that's the best way to go. And that's maybe nobody's done it better than he has this recruiting period, because Indiana's got what? They've got a top 25 class. They've signed multiple 4-star recruits, and then they're adding some pieces through the transfer portal. That's a pretty good recipe for success, at least structurally.
Well, they've had, if it's not the best, close to the best recruiting class in program history.
Yeah.
So all is not bad for Indiana. The cupboard will not be bare. They just need to top it off with some specifics that they need, and then see how about coaching. Hey, we got to take another break. When we come back, Kyle Neddenriep's going to join us. We'll weld some of that together. But we're back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
All right, I'm going to – how do I do this? Can you take me out, Keegan?
Yeah, I can remove you.
What you want, baby? I've got it.
Where'd you go? Did you have to go to the bathroom?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep. Could not.
So should we come back at 9:10 or take it to 9:13?
The normal 3 minutes.
Well, you went to break 3 minutes early.
I thought the break was 9:10.
It's 9. You went at 9:07.
Right, and then you have 3 minutes of commercial.
Yeah, so you would come back at 9:13.
Oh, okay. So just come back at 9:10.
Okay. We don't have Kyle on yet, so
All right. Just keep it normal. You don't want to add time. That would add time that you'd have to fill somehow.
Yeah.
I can
All right,
stretch.
we are back.
Minutes. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Thursday. Kyle Neddenriep joining us here shortly from the Indy Star. Talk about the beginning of the high school season. Actually, the Forum Tip-Off Classic took place last weekend. Some great games there. We'll talk about that with Kyle. Also, Keegan's with me right now, Keegan Nicholson from thehoosier.com. Just finishing up a little bit on the beginning of signing day. Indiana filled a lot of needs. And again, I keep talking about the defensive line. Man, it's not that they had a ton of needs, but they really, really had a particularly good class on the defensive line.
Yeah, I thought it was impressive how they were really able to retain everyone, like you've mentioned. After a 2-10 season, I was expecting a lot of recruits to just flip and say, that's not something I really want to be a part of, a new offensive scheme. And the coach looks like he's kind of struggling. But it wasn't only them retaining guys, it was them being able to flip guys from big SEC schools and then stealing guys from big SEC schools too. So you got Brody Foley flipped from Tennessee, Vincent Sneed flipped from Tennessee, and then you get Nick James on signing day. He commits. So that's 2 4-stars and a 3-star that just really bolstered your class. And it's something that I was not expecting to happen at all. And it just speaks to kind of what Tom Allen is doing, and especially your friend Kevin Peoples, what he's able to do with that defensive line and able to draw those prospects in. So it's really a salute to the coaching staff, I think.
Yesterday, the day went pretty well for most places. 5-star offensive tackle Kenyatta Goodwin from Charlestown, Indiana, down south, down by Louisville, flew from Louisville to the Dallas area Tuesday evening to take part in a national event for early signing period. He was scheduled to make his announcement that morning. That didn't happen. He was rated the number 25 overall prospect and the number 4 offensive tackle. But he made an announcement that he didn't have a decision yet. But then he ends up making a decision and going to Kentucky. It was just kind of a goofy, I don't know, it's just funny.
Yeah, he's a ginormous human being. And I think I saw a video that he was 6'6", 345, and he was 13 years old. And that's when he started getting in the gym, working on his footwork and technique, and he's turned into a guy that basically every school in the country wants. But I got Kyle here waiting, so I'm going to bring him into the stream.
Perfect. Kyle Neddenriep from Indy Star. Cal, how are you, sir?
Hey, good, Jim. How are you?
Cannot complain. Saw you last Saturday out at the Forum Tip-Off Classic. A lot of great games out there, as usual is the case, but a lot of talent out there as well.
Yeah, it was. I thought the Purdue versus Purdue topper to the nightcap of the night was probably the best, most interesting game, and I thought both Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith played really well. Braden plays more of a scoring role at Westfield than he will at Purdue. Probably, I mean, he will be able to score, but he'll be more of a point guard facilitator type. But man, those guys can put on a show. And Lawyer, he got a little bit more help in that game with they're just Homestead's a little bit bigger than Westfield with Grant Leeper in there and Andrew Leeper. So he got a little bit more help, and they Homestead goes on and wins, and I think Fletcher Lawyer, as you go into the Christmas season, I think he may be probably the front runner right now for Mr. Basketball anyway, and just the way he's been playing and everything else, I got to wonder how quickly he can make an impact at Purdue. He's just going to be hard to keep off the floor, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely probably, if a lot of people look at him as the best player in the state right now, amongst a lot of good players. And there was a lot of good teams in that tip-off classic, Cathedral, taking on a Covington Catholic team in which they handled pretty easily, but Covington Catholic would not go away.
Yeah, really good three-point shooting team. They really spread the floor and want to get up and down, and Cathedral kind of does too. So they weren't really stopping each other for the most part in that game. 91-81, I think it ended up. But Covington Catholic, they're ranked second in Kentucky, and Cathedral had lost the week before to the second-ranked team out of Ohio, which different type of team, a bigger team, and a more of a physical team, and Brush beat them. Kind of pulled away there in the fourth quarter there at Brownsburg. But I thought, for Tayshawn Comer, 31 points, he's going to Eastern Kentucky, and he hasn't really been scoring like that this year. He's been, kind of playing the point guard role, but he can do that if you let him. He'll get his points. And then, Xavier Booker, I thought at times he's been really good this year. Definitely is showing more of his potential than he has in previous seasons. And, he'll step out and shoot, and, he's such a long, I know they want him to be more of a, force, and, sometimes it just comes later for those bigger guys to, play with more, more of that intensity and just kind of grow into their huge frames like Booker has. But I think it's just, they're going to be really tough. I still have them number one in our, Fab 15 of the area teams, and I'm ranking a number one in the state ahead of Zionsville for right now. Fans who were out there at Southport got a chance to see Zionsville too beat Attucks in a close game, and you can see why with Logan Imes why they're as good as they've been so far this season. But and they're definitely they have several really good wins, close wins. I just think Cathedral is just slightly more talented, and I don't hold that loss to Brush against them too much right now.
J.Q. Roberts is from Bloomington, also Bloomington North, and participated in that event as well. He had a nice night.
Yeah, he did, and they were coming off a loss to Mooresville the night before, and he's kind of that tweener in between, size position wise, where he can go inside and outside, but like his game, I don't remember what he ended up with, but I thought he played well in that game, and every time I see him, it seems he plays pretty well. They have a good team too. Nick Kleiber, who is their point guard, he's a guy with some Division I interest in the past, but he was hurt this summer and didn't get to play much in the AAU season. But he's back and playing well. They've got some other guys on that team who can score and spread the floor a little bit. So they're going to be I like that team, that Bloomington North team. Even though they lost to Mooresville, I think they're going to be a tough out, and maybe, should be a year where maybe they can get through Bloomington South and win that sectional and try to make a run into that Seymour Regional. But I've thought that before. Bloomington South always seems to get them in the sectional, but I like the makeup of that team, and J.Q. Roberts, obviously he's a big part of that. He can, he can change a lot of games with his outside shot. I thought looked better than it had, and he's obviously a big physical presence as well, both on both ends of the floor.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of any other IU targets that were out there during the weekend. I think you mentioned. I'm already drawing a blank. You just talked about him, but there weren't a lot. This year's event seemed a little different. It was just as good, but not as many coaches out there. It was just a different type of event.
Well, you didn't have a Romeo or we've had some of that in the past. Trey Kaufman, or if they were uncommitted, you had a lot of IU fans coming out to see him. We didn't really have that. You had Xavier Booker, but maybe not. Not as many. You had 3 Purdue recruits, so that was a chance to see Miles Colvin played in one of the early games. He's a junior for Heritage Christian, but other than that, you didn't have maybe quite the usually what draws the fans is the uncommitted kids who might go to IU, and he didn't have that this year. So I think that's probably part of it. And, there's obviously some other stuff going on Saturday, and I know Carmel and Fishers played as well in a big game that was at Carmel. So that drew some people there too. But it was, I thought overall the games were all pretty competitive and close. And, that was a good thing. I thought, like I said, that Purdue recruit matchup at the end of the night was probably the highlight to me, to see those two go head to head and play against each other. And you kind of get a sense of what both of them can do, not only apart, but maybe together as Purdue recruits, freshmen next year. So I thought that was probably the best part of it. And, it was a good day overall. Yeah, there wasn't quite the fans. I mean, I've seen many more fans there in attendance, and, I don't know how much of that is, coming off COVID still and all that. But, I just, I thought it was a good day on the whole.
Yeah, I agree. And a fun time it always is. I hate to get back to football since we've been off of that, but Caden Curry, I forgot to mention him. Of course, he makes his announcement where he's going to Ohio State. Not a big surprise, but that seems to have been a tough decision for him, the IU pull versus Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they were IU was in the mix until the very end. And, Tom Allen, his whole defensive staff was there to, for the in-home visit. And, I think, I thought it was interesting. His dad said after, talked to him a little bit after the ceremony on Tuesday, where he announced to Ohio State, he said he thought the easy decision would have been to go to IU. He had friends there. It was kind of, maybe it was closer to home, obviously. But, he felt like he made a decision where this was going to be the best situation for him to reach his goals of going to the NFL. And I can't, and really, I think when you talk to him, his dad, Coach Moore, the biggest thing to me I took out of it was the relationship with Larry Johnson, who is widely known as the best defensive line coach in the country in college football. And I think that was just probably the biggest part of it all, and had a real good relationship with him going back, more than 2 years ago. And, the opportunity to play for him and the amount of talent he's been a part of helping produce and coach kind of stands by itself. So, I don't think it was anything, where he basically said Ohio State was kind of the bar. They set the bar probably 2 years ago, and everybody else had to kind of rise up and beat them somehow. And IU almost did. I think they had a good plan for him. I think he was, they were probably going to, Caden's a baseball player too, and they were going to bend over backwards probably if he went to IU to allow him to play baseball in the spring. And Ohio State wasn't really, they want to get him in there. He's going to enroll January 10th, but they kind of told him, hey, we're going to need you there by the end of your school year anyway. You're probably going to miss the baseball playoffs, even if you do start the season. So, you might as well go ahead and enroll early. And I think he kind of came to the realization that, it's probably going to be best for my future to go in January. But yeah, I think, IU is number 2 on his list, and that doesn't mean anything in recruiting. It's, it's not, being close doesn't matter in the long run, but you never know with the way the transfer portal is now and all that stuff. You want to keep good relationships with kids who, even if they don't commit to you, I think it's still important to leave things on good terms. And, who knows what a year from now brings, maybe he's, I'm not saying him in particular, but any kid who commits somewhere, they could be gone by the next year or 2 years down, whatever. You want to stay on good terms with them. Just in that case, they could end up coming to you eventually.
Yeah, the changes in college athletics now, as we've seen here over the last couple of days with the early signing period, but the portal guys going all over the place, it has just changed everything. And even for the high school kids, but yesterday I'm talking with Tom Allen and his presser for the signing day, that part came up about high school kids, about how this is really affecting them. It's pushing a lot of them down a level. There's a lot of guys in college football that are getting pushed down, and then that's just been a trickle-down effect he said, until we get through this cycle of this COVID added year, because there are guys that are going to play 6 years or going to have 6 years of eligibility in school. And I'm not sure if you've seen that affect much of the better players that you cover or not, but there's definitely been an effect on this trickle down COVID effect.
Yeah, I mean, the best players I still feel like are roughly in the same position, like, you know, the Currys and, you know, the guys, Omar Cooper, who didn't sign, but, you know, there's the players who are on that top level, I think are still, you know, they're still going to have the opportunity to go where they want to go. And that's not going to be, it's that next level, I think, of the, you know, maybe the guys who aren't maybe they're the 2 and 3 stars that are kind of being held off a little bit more. And, you know, teams, I get it, man. I mean, teams are going to want to, you saw yesterday some of the Big Ten schools that just had very small classes. And it's like, because you mentioned, you know, these extra year of eligibility, some of these schools had a ton of guys who ended up coming back, and some schools kind of pushed those guys out, you know, I, you know, honestly, I give credit to those who let them stay, you know, and let them still be part of their program, because that's a hard thing to do when you're like, all right, we need to bring new talent in, but, you know, so you know, you're out the door. You know, that's a hard, I think that's you know, that's a kind of an interesting way to do it. But, you know, the COVID year changed a lot. The transfer portal has changed a lot. You know, I think there's going to be a change in this early signing period because of the coaching changes that we've seen during the season at the college level. You know, we'll see maybe the early signing period become January instead of December, as it's been the last few years, which, you know, I kind of like this early period, but, you know, the unintended consequences that, you know, you have coaching changes happen in, you know, October and September now instead of after the season. So, you know, as coaches are trying to get their staffs put together so they can recruit to this early period. So that's changed things. And I think that something will happen with that to push it back a little bit. But, you know, there's a whole lot of things. All these unintended consequences come about when you make changes, and coaches and schools have to adjust. And, you know, there are, you know, and part of that is some of these kids getting left out or having to wait on schools to offer them later. So, you know, that's part of the deal. It's basketball too. It's happening there just as well. So, you know, it's different. It's different now than it was.
Absolutely. What's coming up next for you?
We'll have Mr. Football coming out soon. We'll have the football super team will be out soon. That's Central Indiana only, but all this conference stuff early in the week with the MIC and the HCC kind of got me behind a little bit. But yeah, so still some football things coming before Christmas. Then we'll kind of close the door on football fully and move on to hoops. And not that I'm not doing hoops now, but kind of get into the full swing of things.
Yeah, plenty of that going on as the rest continues. Basketball getting into hopefully, and I mentioned this earlier, and I hate to bring it up, but we've seen a little bit of COVID effects. Saw who was UCLA having to cancel a game yesterday, a few hours after saying Mick Cronin would not be participating because of that. Hopefully that does not come back to haunt Indiana sports. Have you seen anything, anybody having any problems?
Well, not at the high school level necessarily, but, you know, there has been, you know, I do kind of just in the last few days, you see things happening at the professional level. Like you said, I saw that with UCLA last night. There's been some other teams who have been in that boat at the professional level. You know, so I do kind of wonder, you know, and I don't think we'll see crowds scaled back at the high school level. I don't sense that going back to what, you know, even at the end of last year, some places were fully capacity. So I don't think that would probably sit well in some parts of Indiana. So I don't think that'll happen, but maybe at the pro level in the college, I don't know. I mean, I'm no doctor by any means, but, you know, obviously this Omicron thing is contagious, and you know, from what I've seen, it's maybe not as you know, deadly or you know, as the Delta was. And again, I'm just sort of scanning through, catching up on what I'm trying to catch up on. But But yeah, I don't know that the high school level we're going to see much change. Maybe there's I know some schools have gone back to, people wearing masks again at games and things like that. I think that's maybe what we'll see changed is, for the extracurricular activities, maybe you have to go back to wearing a mask, and I'd be fine with that. As far as, I remember last year I didn't get sick one time, and it's pretty rare going to all these gyms. I normally get sick a couple times, not anything serious, but during the whole course of a season, I didn't get sick at all last year because of wearing a mask. So that was kind of nice, but so maybe we'll see that. I don't think the crowd sizes will probably go back to anything, but I could be wrong. It could be different in Marion County too than some other parts of the state. You just never know. It's kind of a local decision.
Well, we'll certainly see, brother. I wish you the best. We'll look forward to talking to you next week as we're getting closer to Christmas. But hopefully you have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks, Jim. You too.
You bet. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Make sure you give him a follow. We've got lots more coming up here on the program today. Matt Taylor will join us from the Colts. Chris Denari. Plenty more to talk about. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
When is Matt coming on after this break?
I don't know. 10-10.
10-10? Okay, so he's not.
What about Christopher?
Is he 9:50?
Okay, so we have a segment and then another suite. That will work perfect.
How did Purdue signing class go?
How do you analyze a negligence issue on a tort essay question where your entire analysis is going to be cynical?
Well, we're excited. We feel like that we've got a great.
Has any coach not been excited?
And prove their worth and do some special things.
The only time that happened was
like
Ole Miss.
Players.
He said something along the lines of, "This isn't the best class we've had," or something. That's the only time I've heard it.
That would be great. I'd like to get a string of all these different coaches going, well, we're really excited. We're really excited. We're really excited. This is not the best class we've ever had.
It happened. It wasn't quite as direct from Hugh Freeze, but he made some sort of comment. Well, we didn't really address the area we needed or something like that.
I wonder how Illinois' recruiting went because I know Brett Bielema pretty much hated his whole team. So,
oh, how about this? Yeah, we got to talk about this. The Big Ten recruiting class rankings. Oh, Dustin's not even sitting there.
I can hear you.
Listed by division.
Yep. What is it on Rivals?
I think it's the same.
Is it the same? Because it's 7 of the top 8 are from the Big Ten East. Iowa's the only outlier. What the hell?
Yeah, just under 30 seconds.
Tom Brady, signs 9 name, image, and likeness deals.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Thursday. Almost lost the day there. Hope you're doing well. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition with me. Dustin, something that we hadn't talked about yet from yesterday's early signing day one. In the Big Ten, if you look at the Big Ten recruiting rankings, and this is, if there has ever been, I just want to grab Kevin Warren by the lapels and say, look at this! Look at this! Are you kidding me? Yesterday when I saw it, the top 6 teams were from the Big Ten East. And you just said 7 out of the top 8 in the recruiting rankings out of the entire Big Ten are all from the Big Ten East. Michigan State. This is the wrong ones, but I don't have the right list in front of me, unfortunately. Do you have that list in front of you?
Yeah. It's Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Michigan State, Indiana, Iowa, and then Maryland or Rutgers and Maryland. So
you look at that.
Sorry, Indiana's ahead of Michigan. Indiana's ahead of Michigan State. Iowa is squeezed in behind Michigan State in that number 6 spot. So at one yesterday on Wednesday during the early portion of the early signing period, the entire top 7 was the Big Ten East. Yes. So it's insane. Not just the fact that the Big Ten East has won the Big Ten championship every year, but the fact that you have such a discrepancy. Usually you don't see. Usually you have the top 3 teams in recruiting in the Big Ten East. Usually that's Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. Maybe an Iowa, maybe a Wisconsin or a Nebraska squeaks into the top 4. But to see 7 of the top 8, that's crazy to me. And especially when you consider it's Indiana, it's Maryland, it's Rutgers. Those programs don't have the same sort of tradition as even an Iowa or a Nebraska or a Wisconsin. So the East's reign of dominance is probably not coming to an end anytime soon based on those rankings. Now, you might see a Big Ten West team win a championship eventually if they don't restructure the divisions. But at the same time, I mean, the Big Ten East always.
Penn State for the next 5. Ohio State and Michigan for the next 5 years. The arms race has been escalated. Jim Harbaugh finally got kind of to a place where he could beat Ohio State, where he could win the Big Ten. That's going to help recruiting. Now, I keep saying all that did was piss off Ohio State because now they've gone out and hired the top defensive coordinator in the country, and you just talked about them having the top defensive line coach in the country. They've got Kevin Wilson, Oklahoma's former offensive coordinator, Indiana's former head coach. You've got Ryan Day. Their coaching staff is it's a professional staff.
Yep.
And so, and Penn State's not going away. Look at Mel Tucker. You think he's going someplace? Right. He got a $95 million contract. Yep. But what gets me is for the Big Ten to continually stick their head up their caboose and act like it's Kevin Bacon when he's in Animal House and he's playing that cop at the end going, everything's okay. Everything's all right. And he's getting run over. It's not all right. It's not okay. It's horrible. You got to change it. It's stupid. It's ridiculously, patently stupid to look at these numbers year after year after year and go, it's okay. It's not. So, but they're not going to fix it. They just like to walk around in their suits and, boy, we got the Big Ten Conference. We got the Big Ten money coming in. Let's don't rock the boat. Let's just keep it going right how we're going.
What would
I can't stand suits.
What would be your solution to this? Would you realign the divisions or would you eliminate divisions? Because the reason I ask that is because, in my opinion, eliminating divisions doesn't solve the problem. Nope. Because if you eliminate the divisions, one of the biggest issues is that you might have Iowa play. I'm just using this as an example, but you might have Iowa play Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan in their crossover games as it is now, whereas Purdue might play Indiana, Maryland, and Rutgers. And let's say Iowa beats Purdue head-to-head, But if Purdue has one less loss because they had an easier schedule, they're going to the Big Ten championship game because they don't base it on how you perform in the division. It's on the conference as a whole. If you eliminate divisions, you're still going to have that same issue because you're not able to play all 13 teams in the Big Ten. So there's still going to be some discrepancies. I think if you moved, I don't even know what teams you would move. If you maybe moved Penn State and maybe Michigan State and had a protected rivalry game, cross-division rivalry game with Michigan State and Michigan like you do Indiana-Purdue, that might be enough to tip the scales one direction or the other. I mean, the thing was they tried to do this based on time zones, but nobody – it would make more sense if it was basketball.
Nobody cares.
Exactly.
West Virginia is a part of the Big 12 conference.
Exactly.
Nobody cares.
That's exactly. So you can realign the divisions and make it more even. I think – we've come to a place where I don't think the record between the Big Ten East and the Big Ten West this year was 12-10. So they're fairly even top to bottom. The problem is the top is so heavy in the East that you've got to do something to try to realign it and make it more balanced. And I think if you moved Michigan or Michigan State and Penn State, you could offset that and have some sort of balance there, more balance than you have.
Yeah, you have to decide. Do you want to move Michigan? And they can still have a protected crossover game.
Yeah.
But do you want the possibility of them playing twice in the championship game?
Yeah, I mean, but there's going to be no solution to it. It's going to happen. We've seen it before with Ohio State.
They're the best two teams.
Right. We've seen it before. Michigan State and Wisconsin have played twice. Wisconsin and Ohio State have played twice. Nebraska and Wisconsin. Usually it's Wisconsin. But we've seen it before where teams have played twice in a single season. It doesn't – I mean, it would be a little bit different because it's a rivalry game. But so maybe you just move Michigan and Michigan State over and you send – I don't know. You send Purdue and Northwestern or Purdue and Nebraska or somebody else over to the Big Ten East. I don't know what the answer is, but you could – there's a way you could take those two teams, move it over, and you're going to have more balance.
Yeah, I don't know why Purdue and Indiana cannot be in the same division. They're that way. Now you're playing anyway.
Right. See, you run that risk anyway. I mean, but Indiana and Purdue are probably never going to play in the Big Ten championship game, but there is still that risk that that the stars would align and it could happen.
I'm sorry. What did you say? What is in that cup you're drinking?
It's coffee. Do you not like my Merry and Bright Christmas mug?
Well, when you just said the stars could align for Indiana and Purdue to play in the Big Ten championship game, I thought there may be something else in that coffee cup.
Well, there's not yet.
Coffee.
I mean that'll be Christmas morning, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to get up and.
But yes, just move. Just freaking move Michigan and Michigan State over. Now, who do you move? All right, I agree to move Purdue over, but you have to move a traditional good program from there over too.
So you move Iowa, or you could probably move Iowa. That would probably be the best bet.
No,
Why would you not? You just said a good program.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
You can't really move Wisconsin. I mean, you could move Wisconsin.
They only have two traditionally good programs right now in the West. Iowa and Minnesota, or Iowa and Wisconsin.
Yeah, but traditionally Nebraska's been good. They've just not been good recently.
Traditionally, as in when I was a kid.
Well, that's still tradition.
Well, I meant traditionally here of late is what I meant.
Okay. So you could move Purdue in Iowa. You could move Purdue in Wisconsin. You could probably even throw Minnesota into that mix with PJ Fleck. They've been consistent. They haven't been great, but they've been consistent. You're not going to get – there's no power other than Wisconsin that you're going to get to move. Like Iowa's good year in and year out. Minnesota has been good year in and year out. Purdue has some good seasons now and then. You're just not going to find anybody that compares to Michigan. What?
Move Scott Frost in Nebraska. Let him get a taste of what he's been moaning about.
Well, I mean, he's struggled in the Big Ten West, so
Exactly.
he'd be. But that's the problem with when you coach at those programs. Like, everybody likes to complain about it, but that's two things. Number one, if you're Nebraska, you should, and you're that kind of power, you should want those matchups. Your goal should be to get up on that level where you're competing with Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State. The second part is when you're a traditional blue blood, that generates revenue. People will still watch Nebraska, Michigan. They'll still watch Nebraska, Michigan State, Nebraska, Ohio State, Nebraska, Penn State, because those are traditional programs. It drives a ton of revenue. It drives great TV money. Nebraska could be 3-9 every year, but because they have such a passionate fan base, it's going to draw attention. They're always going to play a more difficult schedule, probably than most teams in the Big Ten West, because it draws eyeballs. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, why is the Big Ten so afraid to make this change? What the hell does it matter? I mean, I know you have to make scheduling changes, and that would be a headache. But did this during COVID? It's not like it's not doable. It's doable easily, and you can do it on the fly. Why are they so adamantly opposed to doing what is obviously needed to be done?
I don't know, but it's not just the Big Ten. The SEC does this too. Look at the West and compare it to the East.
I know, but I don't think theirs is quite as bad.
Well, I'd like to see. I don't know when the last time. It's probably been recent because Georgia's won the SEC. But traditionally, the SEC West, like outside of Florida and Georgia, who's in the SEC East? And those teams have gotten clobbered for the most part when they've been. It's always been Alabama, Auburn, LSU. I mean, even Ole Miss and Mississippi State look pretty good. So Texas A&M. So there has to be, in some regard, my guess is there has to be some sort of television revenue when you have all of those power teams in the same division. It just doesn't make any sense to me because you'd think you'd want to protect your best teams. And so, like, just as an example, if you threw Ohio State into the West, they're probably going to be in the Big Ten championship game every single year. Like, that's almost always the case now. So it has to be something about the fact that you have these guaranteed matchups every single year. You're guaranteed Ohio State, Penn State. You're guaranteed Ohio State, Michigan State. You're guaranteed Michigan, Penn State. You're guaranteed so many of these premier matchups that would be my guess as to why. Because if you restructured it, you could do a crossover traditional rivalry game, but then you're going to have a bunch of 80s and head coaches complaining about, well, Michigan always has to play Penn State, even though it's a cross-division game, because it draws revenue, just like we've heard from Nebraska in the past. So I don't know. There's no easy answer, but that would be my guess. There's probably some sort of television market for it, knowing that those games are guaranteed.
Yeah, I would like to see it, but they're going to do what they're going to want to do. Any big surprises out of the signing day yesterday for you?
I mean, not really. I mean, other than the Jackson State news. As far as the Big Ten, like I think the one thing that's most surprising to me, and I hate to bring this up because I feel like I bring it up all the time, is Nebraska just extended Scott Frost, and they have the worst recruiting class in the Big Ten right now. They've only got 11 or 12 recruits. Obviously, things change because you have that extra grace year with the COVID-19, so you're going to have some guys coming back. The transfer portal makes a big difference. They've gone through some serious coaching changes. But I'm going to bring this up right now. No, they're up to 13 commits. But when you look at the offensive line, one of the biggest issues they've had under the Scott Frost era, they have one offensive lineman, one committed in their 2022 class. That's not good because what you've had there hasn't been good enough. So they needed to recruit that position strong. I'm a firm believer in that because it's been, even this year it was supposed to be better. It was bad. I don't know how it's going to get better unless they add quite a few names through the portal. Like the guys they have there are just not getting it done. Maybe the change in offensive scheme helps that. I don't know, but I'm not overly impressed with what they've done this recruiting season.
I hear that, brother. That will not bode well for Scott Frost as he's on a thread as it is right now. Even though they extended him, I don't know, that extension is very tenuous with the new athletic director there. So we'll see how that goes. But India, as far as Indiana goes, by position, defensive line, 6. Man, that's, like I said, they just killed it on the line. Running back, they brought in 4 running backs to help that room. DBs, 4 more there. Tywan Mullen's brother, Travell, coming in. 4 linebackers, 3 wide receivers, 3 offensive linemen, and 2 tight ends. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, they came from 9 different states total. Indiana, obviously, including that. Only 3 of these players came from Indiana. 9 of them came from Florida, and 5 from the state of Ohio.
Well, those are pretty good pipelines to keep open. I mean, everybody wants to talk about in-state recruiting, but at the end of the day, you got to get players who are committed to your program, who buy into your style, and you got to get the best recruits. And nobody's going to complain if you have the number 20 recruiting class, the 4th best in the Big Ten, about in-state recruiting. If you're recruiting at a high level and those guys can come in and make a difference in the next year or two. So, keep the best in-state products at home. But at the end of the day, if you're bringing in a top 20 class to Indiana, nobody cares.
Hey, we got to take a break. The great Chris Denari is going to join us next. We'll talk about the Pacers, see how they're getting along. Dustin's got his yellow on. He's ready. Back with that right after this. We have no music, Chris.
Okay.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Back to back, getting ready, prepping. Boy, last night sucked. So, it's like one week I'm on and you have a good vibe, and then the next week, that's the way it goes when you're a lot inconsistent.
Are you traveling yet?
No, January 2nd. January 2nd. Yeah, we don't. Though I'll tell you what, with all that's happening now, wow.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's part of me that says, with all the breakouts and all, why would they want 10 more people on the plane and all that kind of stuff? But we are set to travel January 2nd.
Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland, New York.
Andre Patterson.
That's right. Yep, I always see him when we are in the building or when they come to play us.
Then the Knicks. Woody's old stomp.
Yeah, Woody's stomping ground. Yeah, what about that kid going to Jackson State?
Oh, man. I'd like to know if there's any NIL money there.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole – yeah, I mean –
number 1 in the country.
I mean, at some point, too, I mean, this college football playoff has to change. I mean, if you're just in a bowl, hey, if I'm a kid and I'm going to be a multi-million-dollar draft pick, I don't know if I'm going to play. I mean, if the coaches can leave and go wherever they want, I read this story, just in my opinion, somebody was saying, well, the player needs to see it through. Okay, well, then the coach needs to see it through,
Yeah. Yeah, he's making a hell of a lot more.
Back in 12 seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Thursday. I hope you're having a good week We are, because we've got Chris Denari with us. And before I go any further, Chris Denari, last night I was downtown and at the Alley Bar in Bloomington, stopped by there, and the Pacers game was on. And
That's
I
good.
look up, and it was good because I was like, oh, wait a minute, the Pacers game is on. But I'm like, they must have DirecTV or whomever carries those. But then up comes this commercial. And I'm like, wait a minute. What's the Denari deal? I'm like, Denari deal. And there's Chris Denari. He's all acting. He's being like an actor. He's doing all these moves. I'm like, look at this. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to talk about that. That was great. I mean, but look at you. Do you get a SAG card for that?
I've got a nice deal with Connecticut. They've been great to me and to the Pacers. They've been a longtime Indiana Pacers and Bally Sports Midwest sponsor, or Bally Sports Indiana. I've been their spokesman for, probably about 5-6 years now, maybe longer. And here in the market, JMV on the Fan is a spokesman. Tucker Barnhart, who was the catcher for the Reds and now is with Detroit. We sort of pulled Tucker into our family. So we called ourselves the three Connecticut Amigos, myself, Tucker, and JMV. But it's been a great system. I have the system in my house. I have a lot of people that have made the jump to Connecticut. And you probably saw my two dogs, Bailey and Walter. They are the stars of the show. They are probably more recognized than I am. I have gone through drive-throus, and people say, hey, those are the dogs in the commercial. They don't even know who I am. So, no, it's been great. And, I'm flattered that they asked me to do it a number of years ago. And so it's going very well over the years.
What's it like for you shooting the commercial? Because it's not like a thing where you're actually just talking, or that's right. Easy. Just being you, you're actually they're directing you. Okay, we want you to do this, sit out on the couch or whatever. They're just saying that. I would have loved to have been there for that.
Yeah, we've done so many of them over the years, and every year we try to do them a little bit different. And the photographer that I've worked with, he's worked Pacers games for years, and so he has a really good eye for what needs to be shown. And then they edit it in St. Louis and put it together, and then it airs on the Pacers games. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. My wife is usually here because of the dogs, making sure that they cooperate, and she'll let me know that I need to not use my announcer voice. I need to be regular. So, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wish I had a nickel for every time I've been told to. Why are you yelling? I'm not yelling. What are you talking about?
You're enunciating. That's
exactly what I say. I'm like, well, I'm not yelling. This is just how I talk. But great. That's just awesome. I had not seen that. So you've been making those for years, man. They should give you a SAG card. You get words.
Well, here's what's funny, Jim. I am coming up. I am going to be in a movie. At least my voice is going to be in a movie, and maybe my face. So I am going to have. I do have a SAG card now. There is a movie coming out, I think around Valentine's Day, with Priyanka Chopra, who's an actress that, ironically, she's married to one of the Jonas Brothers, and she went to North Central High School for, I think, a semester. But it's a movie where it's a rom-com, and so her romantic interest that she is texting with has the Pacers-Knicks game on in the background with my voice. Now, I don't know how long it's going to be. It could be 1 second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. But I was contacted by people in Hollywood. I had to sign off, and I became a SAG member since they're going to utilize my voice in this movie. So,
boom, baby. There you go.
Yeah.
The pension comes next, Hollywood, premieres, red carpets.
Yeah, I'm sure every
limousines.
time that movie airs, I've heard stories about people that are in movies and they'll get like a check for like 3 cents.
Yeah. I want to see you rolling up to the premiere, baby, and the limousine opening up, and here comes Chris Denari stepping out.
Here's what I couldn't understand. I mean, honestly, I thought about this and I'm thinking, okay, this is a Hollywood movie, you know, a rom-com. You'd think it'd be set in New York. Wouldn't the guy be watching the Pacers and the Knicks on MSG Network? Or is this guy in Indianapolis and he's watching the Pacers and the Knicks on Bally Sports? I don't know. I will wait to see the movie and see the 5 or 10 seconds. I'm trying to match my brother who was in the movie Hoosiers for like 4 seconds. So I just want to beat my brother by 4 seconds.
What did he do? Was he just an extra?
Yeah, he was an extra. He was, if you remember the Hoosiers scene where there was almost a fight, where all the guys sort of line up, you know, the two schools. He
on
was
the court.
Yeah, he was a part of the other team.
That's funny because the only guy I know that was in the movie was in that same scene.
Oh wow, yeah. We need to pull that scene up and look at it and identify those two, my brother and your friend.
You know what? When we get next week, we'll do that because the guy I'm talking about is the one where they say, you're all playing like a bunch of gorillas. And he says, who you calling a gorilla? You, for one. Well, it's that guy said, who you call him a gorilla? I'm like, that's wild. That's just crazy. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. Yeah, we'll do that next week. That'll be hilarious.
Yep.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, becoming a movie star, man, right before our eyes.
No,
So if this announcing gig doesn't work out, you know.
Yeah. I have said, Jim, and I will let it out there. I'm a big Hallmark Christmas movie fan. My wife and I have watched hundreds of them. And a few years ago, I was going to have the opportunity to be an extra in one of those movies. I was going to go to Canada in the summer. You know, they film those when it's like 85 degrees. You know, they're wearing those heavy coats and the sweaters and the parkas. Oh, yeah. It's like 85 degrees. But then COVID hit, and so I couldn't get up there. But my plan is to still somehow get up there and be an extra in one of those movies. One of our assistant coaches was dating an actress who's in a number of these Hallmark movies, and I've stayed in contact with her. And she had all set up. She was working with the producer and the director, and I was all set to go to Canada a couple of summers ago and have some type of role. So I'm still hoping to do that at some point.
Yeah, I years and years and years ago, I was doing a photo shoot for a magazine, and they had me wearing this track stuff, track shorts, just a tank top, whatever. It's February when they're shooting this stuff, and we're out on a track, and they're trying to tell me, well, look like you're enjoying yourself, and I'm like, I'm not enjoying myself. It's 32 degrees, man. You got me in shorts.
Yeah. So you were doing the opposite. You were doing the summer stuff in the winter. These movies are doing the winter stuff in the summer.
Which I thought was the dumbest thing in the world.
I told my wife, though, I think I might be disappointed. You know, how many times in life, in all we do, and I know people, we give a lot of tours to people so that they can see the television truck and how we put the games on. And people love that, right? They want to see how the sausage is made. And there's part of me that thinks if I go watch this Hallmark movie and how it's made, that I'm going to be disappointed, because when I watch the finished product, you know, it's Christmassy and it's snowy and all that. I'm probably going to go up there and there's a little bit of snow on the ground and it's not going to feel like Christmas. So I don't know if I want to see how the sausage is made.
Alec Baldwin's not in the movie, is he?
No, I'm stay away.
Yeah, good.
They don't have guns in Hallmark movies. I don't have to worry.
There is that. But yeah, that's that's a great point, because it takes probably all day to shoot a scene, depending on the scene, or two scenes. All the setting up and and all of that, and the shoots, the takes, or the takes, the constant takes.
Yeah, that's what I'm amazed about is when you look at the elaborate sets that they put together for any of these movies. I mean, they create, you think it's a real house. Well, no, it's a set or a doctor's office or a cafe or a gift shop or a bookstore. That is the part that I would like to see. I want to see how they create that and the responsibility that people have to put that together to make it look real. I think that, to me, in the art of movie making is something that I would really like to see. I have a lot, I'm not just a television play-by-play guy. I have a lot going on in my head. I have a buddy who is the drummer and the band leader for Darius Rucker, and I'm always asking him about how they put songs together. Do you come up with the lyrics first? Do you come up with the music? And I'm just fascinated because those people are so creative in how they put things together. And I just want to know how they do it. I want to pick their brain. I want to know all about it. And so I find all of that fascinating.
I do as well. I mean, songwriting is what is the Pink Floyd song, Wish You Were Here?
Yeah.
What is that? 4 sentences in the entire song, and it's one of the most great, one of the songs that people listen to. And I'm like, it's got like 4 sentences in it, but it was just crafted. It's how they craft things, how song ideas come up. Alanis Morissette, the song they wanted me to go to rehab, and I said no. That came up from a conversation. She's walking on the street with the I don't know if it's a producer or whatever, and she said that, and he stopped her right then. They said, "Hey, we got to go back and do something with that."
Yeah,
they took just a sentence that she said, turned that into that song that we all know internationally. Came from a conversation.
Yeah, I mean that's the fascinating part, and songwriters do it differently. I emceed something this summer for some young country stars. And I had that conversation with them, and they said it can happen organically. We can sit down and try to write. We can, have a dream. There's just so many different ways that they come up with the angle, the hooks, if you will, for their songs. So, I'm not a music person. I played a little bit of the piano. I took piano lessons when I was like in 4th grade, and I played the trumpet when I was in 6th grade. That's the extent of my music ability. But what do they say? There's only so many chords, right? There's only so many ways you can go from the music. And it's fascinating to me to see how it's all developed over time.
Absolutely. Man, we've had a blast just sitting there talking today.
So well, the last night's Pacers game wasn't very good, Jim, so I'd rather talk about this right now. Hopefully that'll change tonight with the game against Detroit. But as you and I both know, the way sports goes, I mean, one week I'm talking to you, you feel really good. The next week, you don't feel so good. Last week the Pacers won 3 straight and played really well. They played very well against Golden State. They led all but 3 minutes on Monday, and Steph had 5 big points down the stretch. And then last night, 92-91, they're up with 9 minutes to play in Milwaukee.
I was going to say, man, it was just a 4th quarter meltdown is all it was.
21-0 run by the Bucks. 21-0. And so one of the issues the Pacers have had, Jim, is 4th quarter production, and they're going to have to find a reason, why they're so poor in the 4th quarters. That's 2 straight games where they've let 4th quarter leads get away, and it's disappointing. I think it's a good thing they have a game tonight. I think you'd hate to sit on last night's performance for more than 24 hours. So tonight they have a Detroit team that they need to take care of.
At least, and you have them at home, man. You guys are traveling in and out here a lot over the next.
I mean, for me, you and I were talking off air before I went on. We have not traveled yet, but we will go on the road as broadcasters January 2nd. So the first road trip will leave the 1st and be in Cleveland and New York, and then we have a long West Coast road trip in January 2 games in LA against the Clippers, Golden State, Phoenix, and New Orleans. So I've got to get my suitcase packing back up to par. I haven't done that for almost 2 years. We're looking forward to getting back on the road. I mean, the scary part is with what's happening with COVID now. I mean, there have been 43 players now testing positive for COVID, and I think yesterday we had 13. Of course, the Pacers have Rick Carlisle, their head coach in health and protocol safety. So it's just a crazy time right now. But I am looking forward to getting back out on the road, being in those road arenas and doing the games.
Yeah, Penn State and VCU canceled their game this weekend due to COVID. That was just announced as well. So, but buddy, thank you so much. We appreciate it as always. Have a great weekend.
Thanks,
great
Jim.
Chris Denari from the Indiana Pacers joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're back with more Dustin Schutte right after this. You missed all the fun.
I heard it. It wasn't Alanis Morissette. It was Amy Winehouse.
Did I say Alanis Morissette?
Yep.
Did
I watched
really?
There was a documentary on Amy Winehouse on Netflix. I love music documentaries, and that was
Don't
one
know
of them.
why I said wow. Why would I say Alanis? I can't believe I said her name. I don't know why her name would pop out of my head.
Don't know. More news. Penn State just canceled a basketball game because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
Saturday.
VCU.
Yep.
That your conference realignment talk was really good. I'll probably use that for the clip today.
That's a great one. Yeah. You may have to have John do a thumbnail.
Yeah, I'll text him.
Yeah, man. Amy Winehouse was a remarkable.
It's her. Well, the documentary basically alludes to her. She had some freaking terrible influences. Just awful.
Her dad and her boyfriend.
Bingo. Like the fascinating part about her was she loved singing and songwriting, but she didn't want to be who she was. She was like, she said, like growing up, she's like, I won't be able to handle it. And she couldn't.
Well, she was skinny as a rail and drank like a frickin' sailor.
She was doing a lot of other stuff too.
Dustin, do you want to stay on for this segment with Matt, or do you want to hop out?
I can stay on.
Okay.
10, 11. We're done at 10:30, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Then I can stay on.
I didn't realize we had boom.
Especially since he's not in yet, so I'll have you and then.
Yeah.
Come on. So what is Matt's like? What's he do?
He's
Play-by-play for the
TV
Colts.
announcer for the Colts.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
I didn't know that. I'm still new.
You met
I'm
our
still
show?
learning. I didn't know Chris was play-by-play for the Pacers until I looked him up.
Who do you think I have on here? Chumps?
I mean, you have me on. There he is.
Also, Chris is now a famous actor, so.
That's right. That's right. Matt Taylor. That's right. He has a SAG card. What do you have?
I have a Kroger card.
God damn it. I wish I'd have saved that for the on air. Man, that was great. Damn.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I have a Von Mar card.
That was gold.
Big
Damn.
Kroger card.
Damn.
Back in 20.
Oh my gosh, that was gold. I'm going to say it again.
Won't be as funny.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Good. I'll explain it afterwards.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Thursday. I hope you are having a good one. We are. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition with me, joined now by the great Matt Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts. You know, Matt was just talking to Chris Denari from the Pacers, and I was kind of giving him some grief because I happened to catch a broadcast last night, and I look up and he's doing a commercial, but not one of those commercials to where you're talking into the microphone and being you. No, he's actually doing acting. He's over sitting down and doing stuff and doing this and that. And I'm like, man. And I said, you got a SAG card now? And we got into this whole conversation to where he has to do something. Oh, he's going to be in a movie. His voice is, at least, and that he does or will have a SAG card. I said, Matt, so what do you got, Matt? And you killed it.
I don't have a SAG card. I got a Kroger card. You know, I can save 10% when I'm buying toilet paper. That's about all I can afford. That's all I got on Chris Denari right there. You know, I got 10% off toilet paper, and you know, my gas goes from $3.25 down to $2.95 when I fill up the tank.
Fuel points, yeah, fuel points. You got that going on, but yeah, our old buddy Chris Denari's. We're gonna call him a movie star now. But how's Matt Denari doing? Matt Taylor doing?
I don't know who the hell that is, but yeah, I know Matt Denari.
Long lost son, Chris's long lost son.
Matt Denari does not have a Kroger card. Maybe I can sign him up to vote, though. We can do some voter fraud with this, right? That's awesome.
Yeah, this is all going to hell in a handbasket quick. Oh, man.
Life's good up here. What's going on with you guys down there?
Just deal at college football signing day, of course, happening in college football.
Yeah, do we have a quarterback who's playing quarterback next year? Fill me in.
Right now, they still have the same old usual suspects with Jack Tuttle and Donovan McCulley in there, and Grant Gremmel. Yesterday, Tom Allen said that their plan is to sign a high school quarterback and one out of the transfer portal. So that's.
Let me ask you something, because you know I keep one eye on high school football up here. So the McCulley kid, I was really impressed with him coming out of Lawrence North, and he threw for over 200 yards in high school per game. Why was there so much hesitancy when he was in the ball game this year to let him throw the ball?
Because he didn't throw the ball very well, A, and B, he didn't have protection where the snot, and he just wasn't ready. That's one of the things that Tom Allen again talked about yesterday, and saying that we didn't expect you to play this year. And he said, yeah, I didn't either. And so he didn't get the reps. You know, when your number one guy is getting all the reps, and then your number two guy is getting whatever's left over. So your number three guy is not getting jack. So he didn't get the reps, wasn't developed. But then again, I don't think any of the quarterbacks were developed. So he just wasn't ready. And a lot of that wasn't his fault, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys certainly know more about the situation than I do, but yeah, it was, listen, they've got a good team. You can definitely tell that the playmaking talent and the overall talent, the recruiting has really been heightened these last couple of years, and they're getting better in all the right areas. I think what's left is, still trying to compete and get above average talent up front inside the trenches on both sides of the ball. But yeah, it was. We all know, like, if you don't have a quarterback, then it's going to be tough sledding. So, a lot of their problems stemmed from that, just from the outside looking in.
Matt, a few weeks ago, Matt, a few weeks ago, you got us fired up for the Colts, like this pivotal stretch coming up.
Yeah.
And now I feel like this weekend against New England, you have two of what I would consider two of the hotter teams in the AFC, with New England coming in, winning 7 straight. Colts have won 4 of their last 5. We've talked about these kind of games all season long. Like, the Colts have kind of beaten who they're supposed to beat, but in some of these premier matchups is when they've fallen short, let leads slip away late.
Right.
What are you expecting to see this weekend? Because it's not I wouldn't call it a make or break game, but at the same time, this is one of those ones the Colts, I think, have to win to prove to themselves they can get over that hump, because they've come so short in some of these big games, especially so close.
Bingo. Bingo. I would completely agree with you. And I think if you're a football fan, especially if you're a Colts fan, this is like Christmas come early. I mean, this is awesome. I don't know what more you want here. I mean, I'll get you fired up here, right? I mean, you're talking about a Saturday night game, Lucas Oil Stadium. Nobody has to work on Sunday. You know, the tailgating, people are going to be lubricated for the game. It's the Patriots, right? Enough said. New England's won 8 straight games over the Colts. It's been 12 years since the Colts have beaten the Patriots. I know some of the movers and shakers have gone, right? Some of the different characters in the novel have changed. But, I mean, I still think once the Patriots take the field and people see the uniform, they see that logo, they see Mr. Hoodie walking out of the tunnel, like all these bad feelings are going to come right back into form. So I don't know what more you want. This is great for the players. It's great for the coaches. It's great for the fans. And then, like you said, it's another chance to validate who you are and what you think you can be here in the NFL, right? The Colts are trying to break this mold and steer free from this stigma that they are the best of the rest, right? They're a good team, but they're not able to beat an elite team or beat the other elite teams. And right, they have 3 losses this season where they had teams right where they wanted them, and they couldn't close those games out, up by at least 2 scores and not able to finish the deal, right? You can't play coulda, woulda, shoulda, but had the Colts won those games, they'd be, you know, probably in first place in the division, well in the playoffs. But here's the thing about the last 4 games for the Colts. Everything's right in front of them. They don't need any more help. They got all the help they could ever imagine over the weekend. I mean, it's amazing what happened for them without even playing a game. They moved up 3 spots in the playoff field without even, you know, putting on a helmet last week. It was crazy. They went from number 9 to number 6 because there's a lot of parity inside the AFC. The Steelers lost, the Bengals lost, the Bills lost. And so right now, if the playoffs started today, the Colts would be squarely in. What they have going for them is their AFC record. They're 6-3 in the conference. They have the second best division, make that the second best conference record behind only New England. So as long as the Colts continue to play some good football and stack some wins here in the last 4 games, I think they get in. And, you know, they always talk about the 1-0 approach and take care of business and let's be undefeated this week. That's a great approach to have. But I think the focus and I think the concentration really ratchets it up this last month because, again, they know they don't need any more help. I mean, my gosh, they climbed out of an 0-3 start, a 1-4 start. Now they're 7-6. They're over 500. They're in the playoffs right now. They don't need any more help. Everything that they want to accomplish, they can by just doing what they need to do and instead of needing outside help and no more scoreboard watching and all of that. So I think it's going to be a great kind of setup to the last month of the season, and it starts on Saturday night. It's not a make or break game like you said, but I think it would really send a message to the rest of the league that the Colts are indeed for real. They've stubbed their toe a couple of times, but this is who they are. Nobody wants to play the Colts heading into the playoffs. It would validate, you know, that nice stretch that they're on right now where they have won 7 of their last 10 and 5 of their last 7.
And I think the thing that concerns me if I'm a Colts fan, Matt, excuse me, is you look at how the Patriots have won games. Just a few weeks ago, Mac Jones plays almost a flawless game in a big win over Tennessee. He throws for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And in their last game against the Bills, he throws 3 passes. So this is a team that can beat you a multitude of ways. What do the Colts need to do on both sides of the ball, really, to get this victory, get to 8-6, and then really have really be in the driver's seat of their destiny?
Well, there's no doubt that the Patriots under Belichick, and this has been going on now for 21 years, they are game specific, maybe more so than any other team. Bill Belichick is going to go to extremes to take away your biggest strength. And that puts the Colts running game and Jonathan Taylor in the crosshairs. I think you'll see, you know, some of the same things the Buccaneers did 3 weeks ago. They're going to crowd the box, hammer the gaps, put linebackers on the edge, and trust their secondary to cover one-on-one, and they have a really good secondary. I don't think New England is as talented up front as Tampa. That's why I don't think you're going to see the Colts completely abandon the run. I think they can still trust their ability to get those hard yards against New England, even when they have, 8-9 guys up front in the box. But there's no doubt that Belichick trusts his team more so than other coaches to execute different game plans week to week. And we ask this all the time. Why don't more teams do what New England does? Right? I mean, they're their recipe for success is so proven. I mean, 6 Super Bowls. Why aren't more teams doing what they do? And I think the answer is most coaches, they tweak their system and they fine tune it based on who they're playing that week, but they don't deviate from who they are because they don't have confidence that they're going to be able to completely shift who they are week to week and be able to pull it off. Bill goes to extremes to shut you down that day, and it doesn't matter what he has to do. That's why, saying the Patriots run a 4-3 or a 3-4, it's silly because they're multiple, right? They just play the defense that day to beat you, whatever it takes. And they give you looks that you haven't seen before because he just does a better job of identifying your weaknesses better than your own weaknesses. So he's going to try and slow down Jonathan Taylor, but I just don't think the Colts can fall into that trap. If they abandon the run, then they play right into the Patriots' hands of going to the pass, and that's their strong suit. They are elite at defending the pass. They're giving up just about 150 passing yards per game during their 7-game winning streak. They've allowed just 3 passing plays over 25 yards in that time. Both of those figures are number 1 in the NFL since week number 6. So I like the Colts' ability to adapt in this game. I mean, the first couple of series, they're going to have to feel their way through it. They're going to have to ask themselves, all right, we can't do this today, but we can do this based on what they're giving us. And the Colts are patient enough. They're smart enough to play with Belichick. Frank Reich's not scared of Belichick. I mean, he put up over 500 yards on them in the Super Bowl when he was with Philadelphia. They had a really diverse offense with the Eagles when they won the championship that year. And that's what this offense is here with the Colts. A lot of players get involved, and it's almost the perfect offense to combat a team that's going to sell out to stop one thing. So I like the Colts' ability to get the supporting cast involved in this game. Hines, Pittman, and I think T.Y. Hilton's going to have a monster game. I feel it. I think J.C. Jackson, their top cornerback, he's going to be on Michael Pittman. So I think it's a big game for T.Y. Hilton to take advantage of the less premier corner. So I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be a chess match. 2 highly intelligent head coaches going at each other, one-on-one. And I can't wait to see how both teams read and react and feel each other out. And at the end of the day, I mean, once the ball's kicked off, and especially once you get into halftime and in the second half, it's just about execution. And I just like the Colts' ability to execute and make more plays because I think they have more talent across the board.
Absolutely looking forward to it as the Colts, they can finish out their season. They can get past the Patriots and then a road game at the Cardinals. They have the Raiders at home, and then you travel to a Jaguars team that is in all kinds of turmoil after firing Urban Meyer. So the Colts could really, could go 4-0 to finish the season.
There's no doubt. I mean, there's nobody the rest of the schedule that scares you. I know you got some really good teams record-wise, but all of these teams are beatable. I mean, the Cardinals are a good team, and they're leading the NFC conference right now. But, I mean, this ain't the steel curtain of the Steelers back in the day. I mean, they're not the 2007 Patriots. They're completely beatable, and it's just about execution, and it's about closing games out, and that's what the Colts – for most of this season have not been able to do. And I think they have found that ability here late in the season. And I like their chances to go at least 3-1, 4-0, ideally right there. But I think the magic number is 10-7. Get to 10-7. I think that gets you in because inevitably, even if you finish with, 1 or 2 other teams at 10-7 with all the parity in the conference, you're going to have a leg up because of your conference record. And that's where, taking care of business inside the AFC South has been so fruitful for Indianapolis. It's kind of like back in the day, with the Patriots year after year, they feasted on the AFC East. They racked up wins, but more importantly, conference wins because the AFC East was inferior. And that's what the Colts have been taking advantage of with, hopefully 2 wins against the Jaguars. They already have 2 wins against the Texans, kind of pad that AFC record, which is a tiebreaker with these other teams that they might finish in the same neighborhood with overall record-wise when it's all said and done.
Well, John Mellencamp said it best, get a leg up. Hopefully we'll get that done, buddy.
I bet John Mellencamp has a SAG card, doesn't he?
I'm sure he does. I bet he does. I bet he does not have a Kroger card.
What was the name of that movie that John Mellencamp was in back in the day? You know what I'm talking about?
No, not HUD. Yeah, he made it.
Was it called Falling from Grace?
Yes, you nailed
Falling
it.
from Grace. Yeah.
Yes, it was filmed like out and around Bloomington.
Yeah, I thought it was filmed in Seymour a little bit, so I guarantee he has a SAG card. He's voting for the Oscars.
Harry Dean Stanton. Oh yeah, all the good stuff, man. See, we are having all good. We got to start having more fun.
See, falling from Grace. See, now that's why you have me on this show, so I can talk about movies that were made in the early '90s that no one's ever heard of.
Well,
nailed it though, man. That was a good one.
Jim and I have had conversations about some Indiana bicycle movie that he keeps telling me I need to watch. I have no idea what it is.
He has no idea what
You've never seen Breaking Free or Breaking Away, right? Wasn't who was the star of that movie?
Well, Quaid was in it.
That's right.
Dennis
That's who
Quaid.
I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Falling
come
from
on.
Grace, 1992.
Have you ever seen Hoosiers, Dustin? I mean, what the hell? I mean, come on.
Hoosiers and Rudy. I've seen both those. Yeah, I mean, you can't completely kick me out here.
What other movies were based in Indiana or filmed in Indiana?
Was Blue Chips?
Blue Chips,
Yes.
Yep, that's good. Nick Nolte, that's good. Shaq. Was it Matt Nover in that movie?
Oh yes, half the Indiana team was in that movie.
Right. Let's see.
Bob Knight was in that movie. The great story about Bob Knight is he would not let the other team win in the movie scenes. he kept.
So he
pissing the
agreed.
director
Yeah,
off.
that's right. He agreed to do the movie, but the stipulation was Indiana had to win.
Yeah, he wouldn't, but they had to change it around. Hey, we got to go, brother. I hate to because the show's over, but man, I could have stayed here all day. Hope you have a great weekend.
Will do. Adios, boys. Talk to you soon.
The great Matt Taylor joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and it has been a great day. Always fun when Dustin Schutte's on. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks a lot to Cal Neddenriep, and of course, Chris Denari, the movie star, Mr. Movie Star now, Mr. SAG Card of Meeple Hoarder. Thanks a lot to John, the producer, or actually Keegan. So used to saying that. Keegan, the producer today, for filling in. Thanks, brother. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. Go out and have yourselves a great day. We're back tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.